and then we are recording. Okay, and so my plan is to post this to YouTube, and I'll make it an unlisted site temporarily so that those who are not able to be here today will be able to see it later. But thank y'all for coming. It means a great deal to me for us to have so many members of the Deep Dixie Club and then our other friends around that we've invited to join us and hear about this. I think it is a great day. Let me share my screen, and I'm going to get ready to put these other guys on the hot seat. So, all right, are y'all able to see that screen? Let me change something on my screen so I can clean it up a little bit for that. Okay, can y'all see the
speaker view?
Sir?
If you switch to the, I said if everybody switches to the speaker view, I believe that's going to show the thing in full, take up most of your screen. That's what's happening on mine.
Okay. Does anybody need Mac to help them figure out how to do that?
This is what I'm looking at. I got this on one side and I've got that on the other.
I think I set it up where multiple people can share the screen. I don't know if you're doing that, Mac, but.
No, I'm not sharing.
Okay. Okay, so let me see, what the purpose is, we've been wanting to do this for a long, long time. And with the situation now with the coronavirus and people having to kind of stay home, we thought this might be a good time. And those of you who are in your offices or at work and you're going to have to pop in and pop out, we appreciate you coming. But it is extremely important, in my opinion, for us to do everything we, as the Deep Dixie Contest Club, can do to promote and encourage not only membership but participation by the fine young ham radio operators who are in this hobby. And we have absolutely gleaned the cream of the crop in who we have. There's no question about it. We look for more, but some of you know, especially something we dealt with recently, we don't accept just anybody. And we've had one young person recommended to us, and after doing a little bit of vetting, we decided to wait some on that. But there are other operators that we still wish we had to become a member for what they can bring to us and maybe what we can give to them, because we have a world of expertise and wisdom resident in membership of this contest club. So what I'm proud of today is that we've gotten agreement from our 4 young members to join us, and we're going to ask them some questions, and any of y'all are able to ask questions that you want to, and we'll keep them here as long as they can stand being here. And I know you're going to have some good information, but this is a focus on them, and so we'll shift the conversation to what they have to say. And I'm going to, David and Bryant and Mason, I'm going to take y'all maybe one at a time, or at some point, let you all just talk among yourselves, because you have had several mutual experiences. So one of them, we might start with David and Mason. Y'all can talk about this, and I think later on I have a picture of Drew, but he's in here too, so he hasn't succumbed to belonging yet, but we did discuss it with him at the Huntsville Ham Fest last year. So David and Mason, as you want to, tell us what this picture represents, please, sir. Or I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Let me stop that. Let me go back here. Let me go back. So David, why don't you go first? And we're interested in, tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're located, and whatever you want to say. Okay.
All righty. Hopefully you can hear me all right. So I'm from central British Columbia, Canada, well, more the northern part. And I live just north of a town called Prince George. I've been licensed since December 2017. Not sure exactly how long that is, but Not too long. I enjoy contesting, Morse code, and the social aspect of amateur radio, because I believe that's a big part of the hobby. And yeah, I mean, I've been to I was a member of PJ2Y, the Youth DX Adventure to Curacao, as well as a team member on Team Exuberance. In 2019, we operated from K3LR and WPX SSB. I think that's a little bit of a description.
Well, you enjoy doing things other than ham radio too, don't you, David?
Yes, I do. I enjoy dirt biking, snowmobiling, mountain biking, all sorts of outdoor activities, hockey, lots of things, lots of different things. That's for sure.
Wonderful. And if I was maybe rustling papers over here, did you tell us how old you are?
I am 16 years old as of January 3rd.
Wow. How about that? Okay. Well, thank you. Now, we're going to come back to you because I know you have some stuff to tell. Mr. Bryant, why don't you go next, please, sir?
Okay, well, thanks for coordinating all this, Larry. It's great to be here with the Deep Dixie Contest Club. I've been a ham for about 5 years. I was first licensed in New Orleans, Louisiana, and was very fortunate to be part of a really good ham radio club, the Jefferson Amateur Radio Club, and it really got me set on a good foundation for success in the hobby. I really enjoy contesting. It's my favorite aspect of the hobby. Also a little bit of DXing. I'm mainly a CW operator, but whenever I need to operate phone, I can always dig out the microphone, work with friends in the SSB contest. Been very fortunate to have the opportunity to compete in a lot of unique environments, such as WRTC 2018 in Germany on a youth team. I was Matthias CE2LR's teammate, and we had a lot of fun together through that experience. And like David, I was also very fortunate to be part of Team Exuberance at K3LR for the WPX SSB 2019 contest. And I've been fortunate to operate from a lot of DX locations with the Youth DX Adventure, a great organization that allows youth to travel to DX locations around the world. So again, just very blessed and glad to be here.
And David, Bryant, if you don't mind, I'd like at some point for you to talk about the YOTA things that you all are doing.
Yes.
So just put that in the parking lot. Let's get to that, but I want to make sure you do that. We asked David about other things that he likes to do, and I know that you have some other things that you and your siblings like to do, but when you're not doing ham radio, what do you enjoy?
So I really enjoy playing competitive baseball, although the season has been temporarily postponed with the coronavirus outbreak, but I'm on a local team, a homeschool team. I'm homeschooled, so I have lots of fun. So playing on the baseball field when I'm not contesting and working on the antennas.
And did you tell us where you're located?
Yeah, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama.
Mm-hmm. And we were so glad here in Mississippi that Bryant and his family were able to move to Montgomery from the swamps in Louisiana. And we feel like he's here, but the problem is that he's so much demand that we're thankful that whenever he will operate with Deep Dixie, and boy, he really has some great mentors. He, like one of our club members, I think you all should know, Chuck Charles Sanders, N05W, was one of your mentors early on, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes. In fact, he really got me set on CW contesting and inspired me to become active in CW and introduced me to CW Ops and the CWTs. And he normally operates from the Jefferson Amateur Radio Club station and they're currently doing some renovations there. But when they get all their antennas set back up, I'm looking forward to some intense competition on Wednesdays.
I still remember the first time I worked Bryant on CWT before I really knew who he was, and I thought K0RF was the fastest operator on that thing, or who is it? Tony KO. What's Tony?
KM0O.
Yeah. Oh, what 45 words a minute, I guess. And then I run into this KG5HBO, and I thought, I don't know that I can even copy that whole call sign. It's right at 50 words a minute. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Also, I was so privileged to get to operate at NQ4I a few years ago with a gentleman who I found out had interaction with Bryant, and I've lost track with Jim. Was it VE7, not ZO? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I believe so. VE7ZO.
Yeah.
Mainly, I think he operated from NQ4I a lot.
Yeah, he used to sort of do a lot of maintenance on it. A prince of a gentleman, absolutely. So that's great. And we want to congratulate Bryant because recently, if I'm not mistaken, recently he was awarded the Eagle Scout level. Is that correct, Bryant?
Yes, sir. That is. I'm also involved in Boy Scouts of America, and I've been a scout since I was very young, starting with Cub Scouts, and I had the honor to become an Eagle Scout this past year in 2019.
It's an honor, but they don't pass it out like bread in the food line. I tell you that right now. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. And listen, we're going to get to some other topics in just a minute and circle back around. Mason. Okay, so Mason, I tell you what, you talk as much as you want to, and then I have your notes here, and I'm going to just fill in some stuff from what you told me. So, wait, Bryant, how old did you say you are? 6, Bryant.
I'm
16.
I'm 16 years old, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All this sir stuff. Goodness. That's, I thought it was my wife talking to me. She said, "Oh Lord," and I said, "Yes." Okay, Mason, do you want to tell us anything? It's your chance to be in the spotlight, brother.
All right, we'll give it a go. Like I said, my voice has been all over the place the past few days here. So, yeah, my name's Mason, KM4SII, and I live over here in North Carolina. I have been a ham since, I believe, the beginning of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And I've been a part of a lot of fun operations from DX places. I was on PJ2Y. I've operated from Iceland and Guatemala as well. So a lot of fun stuff like that. And yeah, looks like the voice is starting to go out again. So we'll give it back to Larry. Allergies are not very fun.
Oh no. Okay. Well, will you? I'll give you a drink of water, and in just a minute, I might give you another chance to talk about this past weekend because we're really interested in how you did in that contest. Okay, and so Mason is 17. Like Bryant, he is homeschooled. He's a junior in high school and lives near Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So here's what he wrote. And folks, here I want to pay a lot of homage to these young people because of the fact that they've done a lot more than just earn a license. They became active. They advanced themselves up to the extra class. They're participating in contesting. They're getting better consistently, and they're making us better. All of them are making us better, and we really appreciate it. Somebody let me know if Cat comes on too. I don't have that window open. So here's some more stuff about Mason that you all might enjoy. When he operated, he operated Tango Foxtrot / KM4SII in Iceland. He operated vacation style with a small portable vertical while in Vik, Iceland. busy schedule kept him off the air during the day, and high winds and snowstorms kept him off the air at night, all except for 2 days. And despite the difficulties, he did have a nice run into Europe on 40 meters single sideband. Too bad he didn't take a keyer with him. It's okay, Mason, it's okay. And the next one in Guatemala, Tango Golf 4/KM4SII, he tells us he was able to operate in the evenings and early mornings while on a mission trip to central Guatemala. And all the activity was on FT8 and CW. He's operated at the very end of the CQ Worldwide CW. And despite having a very small setup, he had a nice run into the US despite heavy local QR Mary. It turns out that he was the only station on the air from Guatemala in that contest. So see, he's so far ahead of all of us already. Then from PJ2Y, he, along with some others in Curacao, he was selected to be a part of the Youth DX Adventure, along with our own David and Violetta. They operated from PJ2T Superstation, and those of us who've been contesting a while, when you say PJ2T, you kind of sit up in your chair because that is no joke. He had PJ2Y, which is, well, at PJ2T, when they were using PJ2 Yankee call sign, worked FT8 and sideband along with the other operations, and David was the CW man. Then, and he worked in Haiti at Hotel 2 Alpha Alpha, HH2AA, which some of you who are familiar with Ray Higgins, W2RE, and remote ham radio, that might ring a bell. So Mason recently joined a team on remote ham radio that periodically operates HH2AA remotely. And it's been, as a sidebar, it's been interesting to me to watch a cluster and see that pop up and realize that Mason was the one who was operating. He's been active on 20 CW and 40, 20, 17 sideband in the past few weeks. Okay, so contesting. He's been a part of several multi-ops at W4 Nancy Charlie, W4NC, and W5FMH, Foxtrot Mike Hotel, remote, as well as several single ops as Kilo Juliet 5 Yankee / W5FMH remote. His biggest multi-op participation was this past weekend during the WPX single sideband at WW2DX, where he and his team attempted a fully remote multi operation with 10 operators, including several youth. They did a fantastic job and came away with a new claimed USA multi-op record. If I'm not mistaken, I believe their score was 32,800,000. But it's 32 million something. A big shout out to Remote Ham Radio and Ray W2RE in particular. Now, I'm going, as an aside, I know that there are some people who just get there all wound up about us operating remote. But the people who were the AM operators years ago got all fouled up and messed up about single sideband. And there are people who say FT8 is not real ham radio. Well, this is the 21st century, and I'm so proud that what Mason is participating in is they're attracting people to ham radio for more than just coming to some club, taking a test, getting a license, and then they drift off into the sunset. They're actually getting them involved. So back to Mason. Mason presented at the Youth Forum during the Dayton Hamvention about his operation from Iceland. And for those of you who worked Victor Papa 6 Delta and the recent Victor Papa 8 Papa Juliet D expeditions, Mason served as the North American pilot. Man, how about that? So I had asked these young folks some questions, and I'm going to give them a chance to talk. So how about now, David and Bryant and Mason, you can talk among yourselves or something. I'm just going to give you a chance to answer. One of the questions I asked you all was, how important do you feel it is to attract and support young hams? And David, you kind of said something about that. So why don't you take it away, and you and Bryant and Mason jump in when you want to. Tell us, these old fogey operators with the Deep Dixie Club, uh, how you feel it's important to attract and support young hams. Over.
All right. Well, I feel that it's definitely very important because the youth today are missing out on opportunities, and I feel like if someone were to show them radio and what it's all about, they would be extremely interested and ecstatic about getting into it and doing something like that, because I know a bunch of people I know would be interested, but there aren't the mentors to help them out and get started. At least that's what I feel. Brian, do you have anything to add?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with what you say. It comes down to like kind of promotion of the hobby, and how sometimes it's not put out there as much as it should be, and that's something that social media can really assist in. Talking about our great hobby of radio sport and all of our experiences, and really just sharing it. I find that a majority of today's youth are very active on multiple social media platforms. So a great place to promote ham radio in general is through social media. And I find that, again, lots of youth are active, and lots of youth already in the hobby and really, really enjoy sharing their experiences with one another. So those are my 2 cents.
Well, Brian, let me tag on that. So you're involved in the YOTA, and do you want to say something about that now, please, and just how that kind of fits in?
Yes. So in Europe, they have a really successful youth ham radio program called Youngsters on the Air. And there's a very dedicated fellow in Indiana, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, who also hosts the Ham Talk Live podcast. And he has really recreated a youth program for youth hams here in North America, and it's called Youth on the Air Region 2. And the mission of the organization is to encourage inner relationships between youth hams, and also connect them with mentors for assistance in the hobby. And you can go find more information about this organization. It's the website is youthontheair.org, or maybe Youth on the Air Region 2. If you Google Youth on the Air Region 2, you can find the website and find more information. But I've been involved in the organization and coordinated a team of operators from North and South America to operate Youth on the Air Month, which is in December every year. And so we used the special event call signs to promote the organization. We used K8Y, K8O, K8T, and K8A. So the suffixes are YOTA. And it was a lot of fun. We made over 12,000 QSOs in the month of December. And one really cool aspect of Youth on the Air Region 2 is that there's going to be a youth ham radio summer camp in the Cincinnati area at the Voice of America Museum. And we're hoping that it can still continue with the coronavirus restrictions, but it's going to be a great opportunity for youth hams to meet one another and share their experiences. So again, if you're interested in more information about the organization, it's Youth on the Air Region 2.
That is wonderful. And would you do us a favor and keep us in the club posted about what's going on with it, because it's really important. And I think there might
Definitely
be some,
will.
okay. I think there's some other young hams out there who, if they if they take a look at Deep Dixie and they want to be involved in contesting, then I hope they would find that the Deep Dixie Contest Club welcomes with open arms young people who are interested in contesting. It doesn't matter whether you're a novice or a whizzing expert like some of you all are. We just want to be known as the one who welcomes young people, because I mean, this is not a missionary attitude that we're trying to just reach out to young people, but we realize that y'all are helping us. You really invigorate us to go beyond the ordinary and the comfortable. So we appreciate that. While I'm thinking about it, if I don't say it now, while I'm thinking about it, I'll forget about it. If you are if you're not one of the young people, until you have a question, make sure you put your mute your microphone. Just click over there on mute, so you'll be muted and it won't click you over. When you have something to say, go ahead and say that. But anyway, we appreciate that very much and looking forward for some more. And when we have recommendations, I'll tell you, all of you, the officers of Deep Dixie, when we have a recommendation come to us for a young person to become a member of the club, immediately I turn to David and Bryant and Mason and Kat and ask them if they know them, what they would they recommend them with with wholeheartedly. And they've been so good to tell us very candidly, they might be a good operator, but you might want to think about that. Well, without being ugly, what they're telling us is they're not quite ready for us. And the members of the club know that early on, when I had the idea and created Deep Dixie Contest Club, one of my goals was to attract members who can fit in. That is, can you get along with the other people, and can you represent the hospitality and cordiality that we like to promote in this club? Okay, getting off topic. So let me tag on that, and Mason, jump in again whenever you have something. It doesn't matter, just interrupt me. Look, I've been a teacher, a principal, and a college professor. I'm so used to being interrupted, and besides, I married my sweetheart from 6th grade. Well, no, she's not in 6th grade now, but okay, anyway. So I'm used to, Kathy interrupts me all the time. So here's my question to you all. What recommendations, if any, do you have to the Deep Dixie Contest Club? You just talked about the importance of working with young people to bring them into the hobby. What can the Deep Dixie Contest Club to help promote and support other hams like y'all?
Well, I think the Deep Dixie Contest Club is doing a great job right now with what you all are doing to bring youth in and keep them involved in the hobby of radio sport. Just inviting us to join and being friendly. That's really a big part of it. And I think what I really appreciate about the Deep Dixie is that you include us all in the club's activities, like the team operations and such. So that's what I think. David?
I had to find the unmute there. Yeah, I definitely agree with Bryant on that. And it's really hard to say what more we can do at this point, but I think you guys are doing a fantastic job so far. And the fact that we are all very active and the club members are active, and if we need technical help, we can go to one of the club members. It's it really means a lot to us. And I mean, if there's youth that are interested and they see what the club is doing, I'm sure they'll definitely jump in, because it's just a fantastic club and the community is amazing. But yeah, to encourage more youth, that's a tricky question. But as Bryant mentioned before, social media is definitely a good way of doing it. YouTube or any other social media platforms is very good, in my opinion.
Thank you all a lot. I'm trying to pause a little bit. We used to say I'm gonna drag my feet a little bit in case Mason wants to jump in. So don't hesitate, Mason. So let me ask y'all another question, totally unrelated or somewhat unrelated. What's your most exciting venture or adventure since becoming a ham?
Well, for me, again, I'm very blessed to have had many opportunities in my short time that I've been licensed. But WRTC 2018 was a really special experience because it was the first time I'd really gotten to like meet like really talented and knowledgeable like contesters, like all concentrated in a small area. And meeting my team leader Matthias and having him come up from Chile, we ran a practice contest during a WPXCW to set up our station. Now was a unique experience, just setting up a multi-2 station from my bedroom. I'll never forget that. And again, the Youth DX adventure, Team Exuberance. You know, it was great getting the contest with David and Marty and Violetta. That was really special. You know, I really enjoy events where I get to operate with other youth because there aren't a whole lot of opportunities out there, but we're working to create more of them. So I really appreciate those opportunities.
And
Well,
I think while David's getting ready, I would just want to remind everyone, if you don't remember, that Bryant actually was the first young ham of the year that I remember knowing about or knowing. And Bryant, what year was that?
That was 2018.
2018.
And it's a really good reflection on clubs like the Deep Dixie who take the time to, you know, mentor youth operators because I try to say this humbly, but I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for the mentorship that I received from groups like the Deep Dixie Contest Club and many other contest organizations. So, I'm very grateful and appreciative for all the mentoring I've received. The Deep Dixie has done a great job.
Thank you. Okay, David.
all right. Well, it's really hard to put one adventure as number one since they were all amazing learning experiences and experiences in their own way. But Team Exuberance and the PJ2Y operation, they were both amazing eye openers, and I learned so much from them. They were both, I mean, I couldn't have asked for them to go any better. And I'm very thankful that I could be a part of them and that, you know, the trips were sponsored and we had such a great team, and it was fantastic. I'm very grateful for all my mentors and everybody that's helped me along the way, especially Deep Dixie. They've helped me tremendously. I mean, Larry, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me. But those two trips were just unbelievable. I wish I could relive those moments again.
Well, I have another question to have, then we're going to let the members, who I'm sure have some questions as well. So this is in the parking lot. What are the biggest challenges that we as amateur radio operators face? What are some of the biggest challenges? So be thinking about that. And while we're doing that, let me just check with some of the other ones, like with Mac. Are you able to see this screen, Mac, the Team Exuberance screen on that I'm sharing? Earth to John McVeigh.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Hold on one second. Yeah, I was muted. Yeah, I'm able to see that.
Okay. All right. Well, what some of us take great pride in, I want all of you just to look at this picture here. And there are those 6 young people who had the opportunity to operate at Team Exuberance. And I will let David and Bryant say anything more that you want to about that. And I surely hope somebody will alert me if Violetta is able to join us, because I want to give her a chance to speak up as well. What an amazing, amazing young lady. Oh goodness, look what she's homeschooled, and she's currently working on what is her sophomore and junior years in high school at the same time. Holy smokes. Okay, so here's this thing, this team exuberance. And David and Bryant, y'all can tell how this is formed. And I suspect that everybody on this conference knows about that. But I'd like to point out to you all that of those 6 youth operators, 3 of them are members of the Deep Dixie Contest Club. And they are really outstanding young people. So David and Bryant, take it away. How did this come to pass? We kind of know the story, and talk a little bit more about your experiences at K3LR with that gentleman. Oh, Tim.
All right. Well, I guess you guys know the story of how it all kind of started and how everything, gained traction and how it all happened. But
David, let me stop you. There may be some people who watch this later on the video who don't know that. So you just say what you want to.
All right. Well, I guess I'll give a quick overview of how it all started. When we were in Curacao on the 2018 Youth DX Adventure, Violetta had sparked an idea of a youth contest team from a larger station in the United States. And as we returned home, she had talked to Tim K3LR about allowing us to operate from his super station. And he was excited and thrilled about the idea and handed us the keys to go right at it. Of course, he was mentoring us, and he was right there by our sides, giving us the tips on how to operate. And once we got to that point, we had to fundraise to cover our trips, because of course we all don't have the funding to make it down there. Once we got the funding, we got there, and we got a very in-depth tour of the station and antennas. And as we were operating, there was always someone there helping us. Either Tim K3LR or other Tim was there helping us out if we had any technical issues or needed any tips on band changing or propagation. It was very well laid out, and the mentoring was fantastic. I mean, it really could not have been done any better, Larry.
Okay, Bryant, your turn.
Yes, Team Exuberance at K3LR, just a great experience getting to. That was the first time that I really got to perform in a very large contest with another group of highly motivated, highly talented youth operators. Tim K3LR, like David said, great mentor. Was always there to help us throughout the way. Marty and Violetta did a really fantastic job at coordinating the event, coming up with an operator schedule, coming up with, a target rate sheet, band changing strategies, the whole travel process for how we were going to get there and which hotel we were going to stay at. All of that really came together in just a fantastic way. They kept the team in the loop. But operating the contest from K3LR is just a treat itself. Again, Tim has really laid out the station in a very good style to make it easy on the operators, so they don't have to make many decisions and they can focus on operating at hand. It's always fun getting to operate on packed bands like 40 meters when you know that you are loud because you have a 4-element Yagi at 270 feet. That's something I'll never forget. It was also just fun, kind of goofing around with David. I think in the last hour of the contest, we were on 15 meters, and at 23 Zulu, there isn't much propagation on the band, so we were just ecstatic to find one QSO on 15 meters in like the last 5 minutes of the contest. Just fun moments like that really made it worthwhile.
Memories that'll last forever. Well,
For sure.
tell it. We know David and we know you from this, and we see Violetta. We can figure out which of the 6, 7 people she is. So tell us who the other people are. You mentioned Marty, but tell us the other ones.
So sure, we have Levi K6JO, who is pictured in the top right corner. He's a fantastic phone operator and does a lot of FT8 work. In fact, this weekend in the contest, he operated as KR1DX from his station in Southern California. And he also contests from ZF1A in the Cayman Islands with Dan Craig in 6MJ, WRTC champion. Tommy, did you want to, or David, did you want to talk about Tommy?
Yeah, sure. Tommy, he's top back row in the middle. He's from Hungary, and he contests from all over Europe, and he's been to E7-7DX, I believe, and LX7I, and many big stations like that. And he's a world-class HST operator, high-speed telegraphy. He can copy up to 75 words per minute. It's really unbelievable. So he's got a bunch of contesting experience, and one thing we learned from him is he knows how to deal with the European pileups very well on 40 meters. That was something that really stood out about him. Fantastic guy. It was great to finally meet him and have him join us at K3LR.
Wow, amazing. Well, y'all tell us about Marty.
So sure, Marty, great operator on SSB, CW, digital. He does all of it. And he's also very skilled technically. In fact, he created an SO2R box kit that is being sold through the YCCC, the Yankee Clipper Contest Club in the New England area. And just this past weekend, he operated from the W1KM superstation as a low power and made 8 million points. 8 million points to set a new world new record. I believe it was maybe a U.S. record in the unlimited low power category. So just a talented operator all around, great teammate. And that's something that all of the Team Exuberance operators had, is that we worked really well as a team, which I think is really important.
So let me ask you all a question, and maybe some of our members want to jump in here on this. So there were 6 of you, and think about the other young hams who are sitting out there who thought, boy, I surely would like to be included in there. I surely would like to be able to do that. So what is it that they would have to do in order to either be invited? I'm assuming that all of you were invited by somebody. I mean, you had been to Curacao, so you spent time together and we're talking about it, but what is the possibility that you would ever expand the group, and what would be the parameters that you would use for allowing your team to expand and incorporating others?
Well, that's a really good question, Larry. Well, it definitely, when it started in Curacao with the idea, it was kind of people that we knew. So, you know, Violetta knew me, then she reached out to Bryant as well, and maybe, you know, Bryant would know a friend of his, and maybe that friend of his would know another person. So there was kind of like a little selection of people that we could choose from. I believe Violetta and Marty were kind of the coordinators of the operators that were going to be a part of the contest. So there was a little selection. Everybody knew a few people that they could, you know, potentially offer them coming, and I guess they picked the ones that felt best for them. So it's really hard to say, but you know, if you were an active operator and are recognized, or one of us knows you, that would be a really good way to you know, get started, which we're always looking for new youth. So as soon as there's a young ham we hear on the air, it's right away get in touch with them and you know, try to help them move forward. It's something that we love to do.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better. In fact, David and I met on the air for the first time. He called me in a contest, and then we exchanged a few emails later. So I think just being active on the air and trying your best and being involved in a contest club really helps out, expands your social network. So yeah, again, being active on the air and being involved in a club, this really helps us to get to know you and you know, expand our networks, because we really want to be connected with as many youth operators as possible to you know, further the goal of pushing the hobby out there.
Yeah, that's very correct. Brian said it right.
Well, it would be my opinion that that you're kind of looking at two groups of contesting opportunities here. One would be an opportunity like Team Exuberance, or there's going to be sort of a repeat of that at K3LR coming up, I understand. Or just a multi-op kind of a situation, whether it's remoting or whatever it is that you're getting, you just get some people together. But to be able to crack that nut, so to speak, and to get in to be invited, or even to have your application approved to add to the team at some place like K3LR, PJ2T, or ZF1A, or you know, any of those places like that where you Tango India 7 Whiskey, some big station like that, 9A1A. You have to. It seems to me that you have to not only be to have a good record as a successful operator, but also you have to. I would think that when you are considering letting somebody into your circle of really high class operators, that you also consider a person's ego. If they may make high scores, but they may have a snotty attitude, or they may have a poor work ethic. And you all know you've worked some long contests, and there are times when you have jobs to do that you have to do. It doesn't make any difference whether you want to or not. So do you ever, I want to put you, I guess I do want to put you on the spot, otherwise I wouldn't ask you the question. Do you ever have thoughts about what if we needed to do something, or that there were going to be somebody else that we were going to consider, but you're a little bit reluctant because, and I'm not talking about any particular person, but that the person's attitude is of a concern?
I'm sorry, are you asking like an off the field type, like what kind of person they are? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, they may make really great scores, but they have a huge ego, or they feel like they're due some kind of a special consideration. Of course, we never have that among adults. We never.
Would you quit talking about me?
Oh, mercy. That may be an unfair question to ask y'all, but I've just wondered, is there something, a person has to be operating and making good scores, I guess, and to be able to show that you can handle a long contest or something, but there has to be more than that to it. I mean, y'all are such nice people. Every one of you all, the 4 youth operators we have in Deep Dixie, must have tremendous parents, because you all are the nicest, the most courteous people. Yeah, it's just like our future is in such great hands with you all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, David, Bryant, Mason, do you see what we have to deal with?
Well, Larry, going back to your question there, you know, it's a very it's a fair question to ask, and in my opinion, I think that it's more the work ethic that counts rather than a good operator with, you know, not good work ethic or that doesn't get along with the team. I've heard from many of my mentors that a good, trainable, accepting operator that listens and is willing to learn is always better than a stubborn one that wants their way. So, you know, it's always, there's a fine line that you got to see, but I mean, most youth, I mean, I've never ran across anyone that was like that. Everybody's being fantastic and ready to learn and take instructions from mentors. It's been fantastic, but I think work ethic is what counts because they're trainable into fantastic operators.
Yes,
Very
couldn't have
well
said
said.
it better. David said it perfectly.
Very well said. Very, supremely well said. I'm glad we have that recorded. Well, I'm going to open it up for questions from or comments from any of the other people attending here. But I just want to remind everybody that when you look at on my screen, if you see that, the ARRL has this new book written by Doug Grant entitled Amateur Radio Contesting for Beginners. I find it quite interesting and quite appropriate that the photograph on the cover shows Violetta, or Violetta, she prefers to be called that, and David. And I guess that that was maybe, I don't know, where was that picture made, Dave? Was that in Curacao or K3LR, or where was that made?
That was at K3LR, and that was at the 40-meter operating position. So Violetta was the multiplier, was at the multiplier station, and I was at the run station on 40 meters. I don't actually remember when that picture was taken, but I think it was a little bit towards the end, 2/3 in. That's what I remember.
I'm sorry for laughing, but I could, when you say you couldn't remember when that was, I can associate with that. I remember the first time I operated the CW WPX contest at NQ4I with those superstars over there, and I spent 43 hours in the chair in that 48-hour contest on the 20-meter mulch station with Drubber, W4IX, I believe it's called. He's living out in Arizona now. Well, shortly before the contest was over, like within the last hour of the contest, I began hallucinating, and I thought the shape of the room had changed. I promise you. And, you know, of course, I got out to the car and realized I left my cell phone in there, and they already locked it up. But anyway, that's a great thing, and congratulations to you all. And I look forward to actually getting my hands on a copy of that book and looking at it. Okay, now, before I was going to ask our members for anything that you want to say, but I'll stop here and then show all the screens and let you all, any of the members who want to ask a question of Bryant, David, and or Mason.
I got one. Where do you get your money to do ham radio? Because when I was 16, 17-year-old, I was broke.
So I started a lawn business in my local neighborhood, and I'm very fortunate to have a good network of neighbors that are always willing to support. So I cut a lot of grass during the summer, and I'm also just very, yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Hey guys. Ready?
Well, for me, I was always very lucky with my dad being you know, very involved in radio, and when I had gotten into it, we already had a little bit of equipment, and previously at our old QTH down south, about 800 kilometers south, he had a 48-foot tower with the Mosley CL36 tri-bander. So he had been in the hobby since he was my age. So he'd gathered a little bit of equipment to start. And of course, the local hams helped me a bunch. I mean, I can't thank them enough they were always by my side and, you know, gave me equipment to use when I needed it. And really half of my station isn't even my stuff. I'm very thankful for all that I've got to borrow.
Yes, like
Antennas do
I'm
you
also
have?
very fortunate.
Yeah, what kind of antennas do you guys have?
What David has a really impressive system.
Okay, I guess I'll answer that one first. So I've got a, I'll start with 160. I've got a 160 meter inverted V. That's up at about 95, 100 feet. Then I've got an 80 meter inverted V. That's also up about 100 feet. Then for 40 meters, I've got a 2-element linear loaded 40 meter Yagi at about 70 feet. For 20, I've got a 4-element 204BA at 60 feet. For 15, I've got a 2-element homebrew 15 meter Yagi at about 45 feet. And I don't have anything on 10 meters yet. I've only made about four contacts on 10 meters in my whole life.
So for antennas, I have a 160 meter inverted L. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of trees in my backyard. That was something that I requested when my parents were building a home. Lots of trees for wires. And so I have 160 meter inverted L, an 80 meter inverted V at 70 feet, a 2-element 40 meter wire Yagi for Europe, a 40 meter dipole at 70 feet for North and South America, a spider beam tribander on a pulley system so that way I can raise and lower the beam to whatever height is needed. I live in an HOA, so I can't keep all the antennas up all the time. And also just have a secondary dipole for 20 and 10 meters to cover the directions that the beam doesn't cover. So.
Hey, Larry, Mason has also answered the question in chat.
Thank you. I was seeing that he had done that.
Okay.
So, Mason, do you want to speak up and say that, or would you like for Jim to tell people what you said?
I think you want somebody else to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be better if somebody else does it.
Jim, why
My
don't
voice
you,
is kind of all over the place.
Okay, he says, Lee, I have 2 main antennas, a 40 meter delta loop at 45 feet, a 20 meter delta loop at 60 feet, and I also have an 80 meter dipole that I sometimes put up. As for money, some of my gear was gifts and some of it I saved up money for and bought over the years. I'm not super adept at homebrew, but I'd love to get better. I'm in a HOA, so I have limited antenna options. Very good.
That's very interesting. It just strikes me of how much more resources that the youth have today than what we did when we were kids. I don't know. I got into the copy when I was 14, and I'm 69 now, almost 70, and it just amazes me how, my receiver was wide as a barn, and when we were doing it, we had to send it to 7139 and copy everything from 7100 to 7025 and see who was split. So it's a whole different day in ham radio today. I would have never have thought, and I have never been able to go overseas. I've never been able to really go to a big multi. I've been at multis, but not multi. And I've been at big stations, but not as big as what these guys have gone. I'm kind of jealous, actually. And but at the same time, I wouldn't trade my experience for anything. But it's a whole different deal in ham radio today. The rigs are so much better. They're somewhat more affordable. At least we don't have green Heathkit crap hanging around anymore. Okay, my rant is over. Thank you very much. This has been very interesting.
Well, and we can say that we talk about what youth today have compared to what we did, but it's these youth. And I have a suspicion that they didn't just sit around waiting for somebody to dump things into their lap. You've heard them talk about starting their own business and doing things. And of course, David's father, Stefan, had some material that he could use. So he had some good mentoring there at home. But isn't it wonderful So I think it's an opportunity for those of us who are older. You mentioned you were 69, Lee. I'm ahead of you. I'm 72. Probably the oldest one on here by many years, but I feel 28. And so I think, to me, it's a magnetizing influence that makes me want to draw my energies and apply them to some young person who might be like I was well before I became a ham. I mean, way before. And we all have our own stories about how we got started, but my family did not own a TV until I was in college. I was reared on a registered Jersey farm. We milked cows and fixed pastures and had hard work. And it was, I stuck pitchfork through my foot into the pile of cow manure and called my brother to ask him to come and watch what happened when we pulled the thing out to see if any manure came all the way through my foot. Maybe that's why I wear a size 15 shoe, because I walked around in fertilizer. And but it'd be just fun. I mean, I wouldn't trade anything for that. A really strong family. But I used to take their AM radio and start on one end of the band and just tune to the other just to see what I could hear. And I think it was the mystery of what was out there. Then when I had some people I knew who were hams and became to know about it, gosh, it was not until 1971 that I got my first novice license. I wouldn't take anything for having started out with that Heathkit HW16 that had that narrow filter, crystal operated. There was no VFO within driving distance of my house. So I had to learn how to become, fairly good with a straight key. Matter of fact, I had an old Radio Shack straight key. I took the spring out of it because it would never operate fast enough when I began getting my CW chops. So, nobody cares about all that. What are some, that's a great question, Lee, and thank you for that. What are some other questions that y'all might have while we have these young folks here?
Larry, I would like to say that one of the things that we didn't have when we were growing up, other than my dad saying, yeah, that's okay. But the parental support. I mean, we've met Bryant's mother. She's what a wonderful person.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure all of you have tremendous family support for the things that you're doing, or you wouldn't be able to go on your trips. And that, that's just something that is just tremendous nowadays. And I think you guys are very fortunate to have that. But you've also demonstrated that you can handle that responsibility and do the work and be accountable and be responsible and be, you're, in some respects, you are wise beyond your years. 16, 17, 15. That's just amazing. What was I doing at 15? I don't even know if I want to describe it right.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
So it is tremendous, and the parental support and the family support, not to mention, of course, what you guys have talked about in the mentoring that's been done in local ham clubs. We didn't have anything like that where I was growing up other than Larry. And Larry was, his house was behind mine and across the road, Sessoms Road, and he had two big 100-foot antennas or whatever. One was 120, the other one was 90, I think. And that was just a natural draw for young kids like myself and my little brother. And we'd get over there and probably get more in trouble than we would accomplish anything. But that was certainly something that encouraged us to get involved. So I just want to, compliment your families and your parents especially for all that they've done to encourage you. That's just tremendous. And please pass on our thankfulness to them and how much we appreciate their working with you and allowing you to pursue something that you really enjoy.
I agree with John, because without my father, I would have never made it into ham radio. And he was a diesel mechanic and had an 8th grade education. And he saw on the paper, hey, they're having a ham radio class. And went to the local club and learned how to be a ham radio operator without my dad. And he hung antennas for me, and he sat there watching the news with the TV being blanked as I was on the traffic nets back in the day when we had traffic nets. And so, you know, without good parental support, and the youth need that today for getting into a hobby such as this.
So it's
Yes,
maybe
completely agree.
yeah, I think coupled on that is for what we have to do now, what's the responsibility that we might feel for those young people who have the desire, but they don't have the parental support. You know, those who want to, but they don't. It's not that the parents don't support them. Maybe the parents don't know to help push them that way. And Chuck, I know that you and I have sat at Starbucks with a parent who had teenagers, and we sit around and talk about what is it that we can do for those. And we probably could have done something had it not been for the actual obstacles that were put in place by the local ham radio clubs.
Well, I think you're right. And we had at one time with one of our clubs, we did a technician class, and that brought in about 6 people. However, there's only one young person really in that group. But what we see happening is the local clubs, oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do this. Well, it's hard to put together a class. I'll tell you what, though, it's even using this video system here gives me some ideas about what we may do in the future. And I know VE testing is going to become a problem with this virus until things settle back down. But I think that's one of the things that we can do is offer classes, but we've got to get the information out to people that would be interested in it. But you're right. We've had a lot of problems with clubs just totally resisting what we wanted to do. So we formed our own group.
Well, let me ask you about your situation. Now, you have a son, Joe, AB5OR, who got a ham license as a young fella, but he got his license before you did, didn't he?
That's correct. I've got a first class radio telephone commercial from the FCC, and I fooled with radios for many, many, many years. And Joe got interested in ham radio. He was operating BBSs, and he was doing all kinds of things, and he got interested in ham radio. So I had gotten a technician license in '92, and I did very little with it. And he got interested in it, and at 13, he had his extra. Of course, at that time, you know, you went through all the stuff, and of course, he had his, 20 words a minute. And he kept on doing that, and I didn't pay him a lot of mind until later on in about '03. I was down at his house one day, and he's playing with HF, and I said, darn, I might want to do that. So I got interested in it. So I'm actually the reverse of these other guys. My son got into it really before I got into it, but I have really enjoyed it. It has been a lot of fun, and I'd love to see a lot of other young people do it because it is something that you can take with you, and it's, not everybody can do this.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of you all who joined us today, and also especially to David, Bryant, and Mason for not only joining us on this video conference, but for being such valuable members of our club. And I want all of y'all David, I want you to talk just a minute. I want all of y'all just to look at David's picture now. When I look out the window, I see the beautiful sunshine and the azaleas are blooming out there. And so I'm going to put it on the big screen. I'm going to put David on the big screen, and let's just say something to us, David, so we can look out your window.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
There's a little bit of snow still, probably about 3.5 feet, maybe. It's still winter up here in British Columbia.
Tennessee doesn't have anything like that, David.
Just postcards, I guess. Oh,
yeah. Didn't think there would be much snow down there anymore.
Larry, I'd really like to congratulate these young folks for getting into this, joining Deep Dixie. I mean, this is really something to have them, and as far away as they are and scattered. I want to ask a question. How did you find out about Deep Dixie?
Well, I guess I'll go first there. I remember I operated one of the CWTs. I believe it was one of my first ones that I'd operated. It was with my dipoles a long time ago when I just had dipole antennas and 70 watts. And I remember Larry emailed me asking if I would want to be a part of a team member on, I think it was NAQP on one of the Deep Dixie teams. And I was thrilled to be a part of that, as I had never gotten an offer like that before. So I said yes, and Larry and I exchanged a few emails, and I mean, time passed, and here we are.
How about that?
And Bryant didn't understand the question, so David, tell him what the question is you're answering, please.
Bryant, how did you first find out about Deep Dixie Contest Club?
Okay. Thank you for repeating the question. I had to step away for a moment. I believe I'd worked Larry in a few CWTs, and I received an email from him in the summer of 2018, and he asked if he generally asked me if I'd like to join the Deep Dixie Contest Club for the CW Open that summer. And we found out that we actually had a lot of mutual friends: John Laney, K4BAI, Chuck N05W, and Jim VE7ZO. So we had a lot of commonalities, and baseball was one of them. So I was able to compete with the Deep Dixie Contest Club for the CW Open that 1 year, and generously invited me to join the club, and I accepted. Thank you for inviting me.
And stop beating me every time. Stop beating me. I don't like it when you guys beat me.
I think you better suck it up, Lee.
I'm very competitive.
Embrace it.
Yeah, you better embrace it, because it's not going to get any better.
Yes, proficiency through competition.
Hey, Larry Mason also responded. He said, I was actually reached out to by Larry via email. If I recall correctly, he convinced me to jump in on a team for a CW contest. He also mentioned earlier that his parents, he said, my parents don't particularly love it when I occasionally trip breakers in our house, but otherwise they're very supportive indeed. So, just
Mason, those are simply memories being created. That's what that is. They'll just remember those times. Well, I guess maybe because of my during my high school and college years, I worked with our youth in church a lot at the Baptist Church in Starkville, and Vacation Bible School, and then being a junior high school shop teacher, that industrial arts, where it was not like the ordinary class, science or math, sit in your chair, line up in rows, open the book to page 73, do the questions on page 85, and no, we got to make stuff and do stuff and hang around with them. And I drove a school bus, and I mean, look, it was so much fun. This is just to help accentuate that. I take great pride in the fact that I have a Facebook group called Mr. A's Industrial Arts Class, and I have 196 of my former junior high students in that closed Facebook group, and I stopped teaching industrial arts in 1971. Yet I still am friends with those young people, and I have an attraction. That's why when I hear about new people like last year, I think Kenny Mills and John McVeigh and Jim Rosser and I had a chance to meet Drew. Was it KC9Z JC or something like that? And I think Drew went to Curacao with y'all, David and Mason. And so at the Huntsville Hamfest, I gave him a card and talked to him about the Deep Dixie. And I said, I just want you to check with your friends and find out about it. And if you're interested, I want you to know I can tell enough about you already that you're the kind of person we want to be a part of our group. You will strengthen us. And hopefully there's some members in the club who can provide something to you. That's the way I always want to pitch it. Like, I'm not out trying to beat the bushes and save all the sinners. I'm just wanting to say our gates are open to people who fit in, who will be good partners and will lift the quality of what the Deep Dixie Club is. And so that's why I keep pestering our youth members to tell me, I'd love to have some young people from Europe and other parts of the world. I would absolutely love that. I know they're there. I just don't know who they are. And, you know, we used to say when the internet was first getting hot, you know, a dog can be on the internet. You don't know it's a dog. And so by a person's call sign, you can't tell that. But we still,
We can tell it on Facebook as soon as they post something.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the parameters in which we have. Yeah, there's a dog. Trina has a dog on the internet. Yeah, and that dog is yawning. That I've seen my students do that so many times in class. I tell them that one girl told me one time, Dr. Anderson, that God gave you the kind of voice that makes gravity overtake my eyelids. Okay, so kind of starting to wrap this up. We kept y'all here a long time, but it's just so much fun. I've looked forward to this for a long time. But are there any other questions or comments or suggestions that anyone has for the common good?
Before we get out of here, if Ron doesn't mind, would he just maybe give us a hint of what his new contest station is going to look like? I know that he has invited all of us, those that are close enough to make the trip, or maybe even some that aren't that close, if they'd like to come down, to come visit. But it's probably not in decent shape, you know, for a big, you know, reveal just yet. But maybe, Ron, if you could tell us what's coming and what you've got planned and what we can look forward to when we finally do come up there and take a look. Are you there, Ron?
Are you there, Ron? You said
Barely.
You didn't hear what I just said.
I heard you say my name, and then my internet locked up. I barely got a strong enough connection to do anything.
That's okay. I was just wondering if you'd like to tell us just a little bit about your new contest station and the fact, I know you've invited a lot of us to come up and take a look, and maybe give us some timeline when that might be a good time. And but just tell us a little bit about what you've got planned.
A little bit of everything. We've got 5 towers going up right now, 3 rotating towers, a fixed tower with the 80-meter stack on it, and 160-meter quarter wave vertical, a bunch of receive antennas scattered around the 10.5 acres. It's a big project.
Now, how long is that beverage? I saw that thing's like a half a mile long, isn't it? One of those beverages.
The main EU beverage will be 1,200 feet, and we're trying to fit an array of them, trying to do 2 of them phased the same length to EU.
It's going to be long enough. It'll reach from your property to Mason's house.
I do have a question. I do have a question for Bryant and Mason. I understand with David, but both y'all are extra class and have call signs like a mile long. Why haven't y'all gotten shorter call signs?
Good question that I get asked a lot.
Yours is actually more like a part number than a call sign.
And he's not being critical. Don't take him the wrong way.
It's all good. I haven't changed. Well, I have attempted to change my call sign. I applied for Kilo Mike 5 Alpha in the summer, and unfortunately, it went to somebody who already had a 2x1. Whatever. That's the way it works. No big deal. But I will be applying for another call sign at the end of the year, and definitely one in 2021. So I'm trying. Please don't think that I'm trying to keep this long call sign.
I didn't know if there was some kind of sentimental attachment to it, or whether you had put in a few apps and just hadn't got one yet. But it definitely had me curious.
Oh no, this call sign got pretty old once I started using it on CW.
Gotcha.
Jim, can you relay to us what Mason is typing? I see him trying to give an excuse
I don't see anything.
in the chat.
Wait.
He said somebody.
Oh,
Or Mason.
Mason's responding to Lee's question about W2RE doing a fantastic job with.
He said he said I need a new one, but I'm attached to mine.
Yeah.
But my suffix is so awful in CW.
Oh no, it's memorable. Both of you, Bryant and Mason, you have memorable call signs, quite memorable. And it was a long time that I could drag myself away from WB5EIN, which was my first call sign, WN5EIN, then WB5EIN. And part of it was because the call sign was so long that when you worked pileups and everybody at K0WA's call sign had faded out, he had finished sending his, and that EIN was standing out like a sore thumb. And so from Amsterdam Island, they would be calling EIN, and I said, yeah, boy. And now with NN50, it's so short, it's over. I can't even get a drink of water. But there's Mason and Bryant just knocking it out there. I mean, when you hear their suffixes, you know exactly who it is. And even David's same way. He got that DZO sticking out there. Yes, sir. The NN50 is finished before he gets to the 7. And of course, the difference is, especially for David and Bryant, they are sending at such a high rate of speed that they can send their call sign by the time I've sent NN.
Have many of you looked at our Deep Dixie website? At the very bottom of the page, there is a snip from I believe it's radioqth.com or net, something like that. Anyway, there's a app that you can put in call signs and it'll tell you what the weight is. Well, I've got a list of everybody in our club down there, and you'll notice that Kenny Mills, the weight of his call sign is 28. Larry is 42, which is a lot more than 28. I mean, Kenny sends his pretty quickly. Mine's kind of in the middle. It's a 50. And then we got some down there, David and Bryant. Yours is 70 and 72 as far as the weight is concerned. And that just means that, it's hard to hold up and certainly hard to send in CW. So certainly encourage you to try to help that along a little bit.
Oh, no, I'm going to encourage you to keep the call signs you have. See, I'm one of those that likes that personality, but anyway, whatever. And then you have sir.
You're going to get a pin in your coax if you don't act right.
It won't be the first time, and it sure won't be the last time. Look, I hope you young fellas get a notion of how I'm treated by these people. I mean, it's just plumb unkind. Deserved, but unkind. Anyway, well, look, thank y'all so much. We could go on and on. And part of the problem is that I'm enjoying being with y'all so much. I tend to be kind of a social person. And I like to say hello to Ed, W5TM. I see his call sign up there, but don't see his picture. But appreciate Ed. I did have a thought when I see Ed's call sign up there, W5TM. And when Team Exuberance, when y'all started going to K3LR, you did a GoFundMe or something like that, and the Deep Dixie Club, y'all made contributions through the PayPal donation on the Deep Dixie website, and that enabled us to get our money together and send it up there to help support these folks. Also, when Violetta was invited to speak at the Visalia DX convention, she needed some money, and we did two things as a club. I put out the call and asked anybody who wanted to make a contribution to support that, do so, and then we put the money together and sent that to her. But Also, we suggested to Violetta that she increase what she was trying to get because she was already gotten her maximum. And we know that it takes a lot of money to travel because her mother was going with her. She did, and I think she got all that money. Now, of course, with Visalia being canceled, they're trying to see about sending the money back. Well, I kind of don't want the money back. I'd find something else that Violetta's involved in and figure a way to use it on that because we're trying to support our people. So
then I need a new Flex 6600 with the Mastro. Would you guys help me out a little?
Yes, sir. It's right. Can you donate a penny to the club?
Costs you more in service fees over PayPal to donate a penny than
Well, that's right. And then we also have another project coming up. Maybe it's the other. Let's see, K3LR is going to have another CW gathering up there. Is that right? It's like WPXCW. There's something.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, yeah, excuse me.
Unfortunately, however, I have some news to present on that. So we were hoping to do Team Exuberant CW 2020 at K3LR this May, but due to the coronavirus outbreak and the U.S. travel restrictions in place, we are postponing the event until 2021. So we're simply not going to do this WPX, but we're just going to wait to do it in 2021 when everything is hopefully calmed down.
Okay. Well, all right. So, Bryant, baby, I'll just tell you the way I feel. I sort of feel like the way my family feels about missions. I can't go to some places, but I can help support those who do. I don't have much money, but I can take some of what I have and help. And if a lot of people help a little bit, then we can make it happen. So I would have a tendency to say, well, can you pool that money that you're going to get for 2020 and hold it over in abeyance for 2021, and or in the event that there's going to be something like a chance that you all have, like you have, going to go back to WRTC or some major event that y'all are going to go on when you've done the expeditions. If there's a way that some of us can help those worthy projects and you have a donation path for that, we may not give you the amount that's in Fort Knox, but if there's any way that we can contribute something, I know we would feel good about that.
Yes, and we are extremely grateful for the generosity of the Deep Dixie Contest Club that supports a lot of youth efforts with Violetta and with Team Exuberance last year. So, and we're very grateful for any and all contributions.
Well, just to know that we're glad to help. Okay. All right. Well, it's I'm getting close to 6 o'clock at Mason's house, and his mama is calling him to dinner. Now, Mason, if you live way up in North Carolina, but if you lived here in Mississippi and Alabama with Bryant and me, and then Chuck and Bryant and me, we call that supper. Dinner's in the middle of the day. So, anyway, hey, look, thank y'all for coming. It has been so wonderful. You have thrilled my heart, and I appreciate all of our young folks, and I appreciate all of our other Deep Dixie members. And y'all just make me so happy to know that I get to be a small, dwindling sapling amongst the towering redwoods. So,
thank you for putting up with my quips and my remarks.
I'm impervious.
Now they know. Now you know why it's called Wise Ass.
Well, I thought it was Wild American. So,
well, that too.
Oh goodness, and you look at something like Jim Ross's call sign, and it's just but there's a 5 up in there somewhere. So, anyway,
I worked hard to get that. It took me like 30 tries.
Okay, gentlemen, one last chance from our young folks. Y'all have anything else that you want to offer? If so, speak now or hold your peace until next time. Okay, we're gonna plan some more. Excuse me. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna say thanks for coordinating this, Larry. I had a great time talking with the DDCC members.
Wonderful. We plan to, we've had conversation among the officers about doing another one of these. We have some members who have expertise. Like I'd like to have one where we focus on people like Tor Clay, N4OGW, and K5KU, who are both absolute beasts in contesting and brilliant people and tremendous personalities, just tremendous people. And I think that we have a lot we can learn as a club from strategies. And see, I mean, you know that Tor wrote his own SO2R software. He wrote his own skimmer, and he's brilliant. Not only is he a renowned physics professor at the university, but I'm told that he is a virtuoso with the fiddle, which I'm told is also not the same as violin. But maybe we could have a thing when Violetta can get on here with her violin and Tor can get on here with his fiddle, and they can have a fiddle off or something like that. Oh, me. Okay, so we have some other ideas about things like that I think might be good.
Yeah, that wasn't one of your best.
Well, you know, hey, it's just one of them. All right. So thank y'all, and I'll shut off the recording, and we shall see y'all soon. Where is that thing? Cut it off now.